Hey guys, this is John and I'm playing Home Again in the 15-minute pool on ICC. Let's play knight f6 against Home Again, against d4. And maybe a Benko Gambit today is what I'm thinking. Can't recall if I played this in a 15-minute game yet. And he plays knight f3. This is a good way to decline the Benko Gambit. It's an acceptable move if white does not want to dabble in the main line with c takes b5. I like g6 because it's flexible. Still gives him the option of taking, after which I'll play a6 and continue in standard fashion. Let's check Home Again's stats. He has a peak 15-minute rating of 2053. Okay, so he's at his peak. 30 wins, 12 losses, 2 draws. Other ratings, 5-minute, 2241. Yeah. Not a whole lot else going on. So, usually, yeah, he takes. It's interesting. White could try to have avoided that altogether. Like, sometimes they actually play knight c3 on the previous move as a way to try to goad me into playing b4. But he's opting for an accepted line, so I'll just pre-move bishop takes a6, just in the case that he takes. Other possibilities are e3 to defend the pawn on b5. Okay, he plays this. This is interesting. I think I will just take. And if he takes with the knight, oh, interesting, e4. Yeah, so if I play b4 and he goes knight b5, I'll have to watch myself just a little bit. I wonder, though. So b4, knight b5, if I take on e4, is his idea queen e2, whereupon knight f6 would be embarrassingly met by knight d6, smothered checkmate. So from the top here, b4, knight b5, knight takes e4, queen e2. I could prop up my knight with f5. It's kind of radical this early, but maybe it's the best move. At any rate, I feel like I almost have to play b4. I mean, my alternatives are d6, and he could take on b5 with check. So b4, knight b5, I could always play d6. But I'm a little bit worried about e5. I'm just not quite sure about that. So e5, I take, they take or play d6 even. I'm going to do this. Let's just see if they respond with knight b5. I'm certain they will. No, this move instead. I'm having a hard time predicting their moves, as you can clearly see. Okay, so I take, they take on f6. Then I have a choice of taking on b2 or taking on e7. So if I take c3, they take f6. Let's say I take back with my pawn. Don't know if I like that so much. My structure is messed up. They could always recapture with the pawn. B takes c3. So I'm kind of thinking b takes c3, e takes f6. Maybe queen a5 then? Don't know. Because then they take, I take with a queen check on c3. Bishop d2, I have queen takes f6. That's pretty unclear though, because if my opponent could quickly play rook c1 and bishop to c3, I'd be in trouble. Might be possible. So let's think, because if I take on c3, I'd like to have my next move prepared. So b takes c3, e takes f6, c takes b2, bishop takes b2. I can throw in queen a5 check then. Maybe with an eye towards playing pawn e6. Again, though, I'm behind in development. I'm not sure how I feel about that line. Pretty sure I'm going to play b takes c3, e takes f6, and then take on b2. I don't think queen a5 is as good. Queen a5 take is what I'd be worried about. Okay, let's do that line. Because one thing I'm thinking about, like say e takes f6, c takes b2, bishop takes b2, queen a5 check. If knight d2, I always have this bishop h6 option to attack the pin knight. So we'll see if I do that. Just not sure about queen a5. Queen a5 seems less desirable to me. Let's check that one more time. Queen a5, b takes c3, queen takes c3 check, bishop d2, queen takes f6. Let's say rook c1. I could play queen d6 there. Huh. I know I said I wanted my move prepared, but queen a5 caught my eye again, so I'm trying to decide if I want to go for that. White gets a lot of development. Then again, it clarifies the position for me. If I take on b2, they take queen a5 then. Even queen d2 might be okay, though. Queen d2, and if I trade, they take with the knight. This knight is coming to c4. It's annoying. I'm starting to change my mind. I might speculate on queen a5. Queen a5, b takes c3, queen takes c3, bishop d2, queen takes f6. I think rook c1 is critical then, threatening bishop c3. Maybe I can just play bishop g7, and if bishop c3, sack my queen on c3. I get 2 minors and a lot of activity. Yeah, I shouldn't be afraid of that line. Okay, we're doing this move. I like the look of this. Is there anything else that they can do to hurt me? After b takes c3, queen takes c3 check, bishop d2, queen takes f6. Because my lack of development is my only big concern. Otherwise, my position's good. I'd be up a pawn with a very coherent pawn structure. So I'm looking at like moves like queen b3 are impossible because of queen takes a1 check. So I think this game is going to go b takes c3, queen takes c3, bishop d2, queen takes f6, rook c1, bishop g7. They can take c5, I'm seeing now, but I think it's worth it to get castled. I think I'm happy to do that if it means safeguarding my king. a2 will be weak for them after that, and they still haven't solved their castling problem. So maybe I can turn the lack of development on its head, throw it back at them. This is the first time they've seriously thought all game. That move. Yeah, I'm having a hard time predicting their moves. So their idea is c2 check, queen d2. Well, I could just take on f6 if I want right now. Queen e2 check, king d8 is a way to play the position. I could go c2 check, queen d2, and then take on f6. It's probably even safer. I don't like that maneuver of the knight, though, through d2 eventually to c4. That's annoying. It's between c2 and taking on f6. That's pretty clear. I don't think many other moves are worthy of consideration. Maybe something like bishop a6 or knight a6, but I doubt it. Knight a6 might be interesting. If I take on f6, can they play queen c2? Maybe. But they'll have to waste so many tempos trying to win that pawn on c3. c2 check has the advantage of being very forcing. c2 check, queen d2. Let's say take on f6 then. Queen takes a5, rook takes a5. I'm going to take here first, I've decided. And if queen e2, I'll just play
Check.
king d8. We'll hide our king. They're playing very quickly. And now I think knight a6 is what I want to do. Trying to come into the b4 square. It's almost like they're trying to get me in time pressure. Another one of these opponents. Because that's a lot to calculate. I mean, very possibly they were just calculating on my time. It seemed like it. But I don't know. It's a lot to digest. This seems good. I mean, if my knight gets in here, and note that a3 doesn't stop it. I can still go knight b4 because of the pin. My king is feeling okay on d8. Yeah, I can't castle anymore, but I might be able to play bishop d6 and a quick rook e8. Oh, I see this player actually said something to me in the chat. Am I going to be on TV? No, not TV, just a YouTube channel. And then they said, anyway, I really like your channel, so thank you. Oh, thank you, homeagain. Stop by the channel and give us your thoughts on this game afterwards. Yeah, I don't know about queen e2. It seems like the right move, but I'm not sure king d8 is that troubling to me. I think I kind of want to play king d8, to be honest. So this knight a6 move really brings the position together for me. But what are they going to do about knight b4? Because the threat is knight b4, queen takes c3, knight c2 check, and queen takes c2 is illegal. So they could play rook b1 maybe. Idea knight b4, queen takes, and then if I check somewhere d3 or c2, they have king d2, but at the very least I could, I don't know, check on d3, king d2, trade queens on c3, I take f2. That cannot possibly be good for white. Rook to g1, rook takes a2 at the end. Nah, no way that's good for them. Bishop c4. So is that similar? Knight b4, queen takes c3, but I have check again. So maybe their idea is knight b4, queen e2. That probably is the idea. So knight b4, queen e2. Let's say bishop d6 then, threatening rook e8. Probably they castle. Rook e8, bishop e3. Might be holding for them, I'm not sure. So knight b4, queen e2. It's definitely what they're up to. I think I might just go knight b4, queen e2, bishop b7. And attack that pawn on d5 at all times. Okay, let's do this. I think after queen e2, bishop d6 or bishop b7 are good. Maybe even bishop a6. Somehow bishop d6 feels right, just to rule out bishop f4. So I'll probably end up going with that move. I wonder if a line like queen e2, bishop d6, castle, rook e8, bishop e3, queen a3 is any good. Trying to creep into the b2 square, and it also puts a stop to white playing pawn a3. Yeah, that's probably a nice move. If I get into the b2 square with my queen, that's looking great. I'm a little bit low on time now, so let's try to speed up a bit. I don't think there's anything to think about. I mean, maybe queen e4 is playable, but it looks tremendously risky. Queen e2 has to be played here. I kind of want to do a move like queen takes a2, but that's too radical. When your opponent starts thinking over a seemingly obvious move, you start to figure out what you're missing. Like, it makes me think I'm missing something really good for me after queen e2, but I don't see it. So I mean, they're ready to castle out of danger, so I don't really see it. See, I'm gonna go Queen E2, Bishop D6, intending castles, Rook E8, Bishop E3, Queen to A3, trying to get into B2. That's the plan. If Queen E2, Bishop D6, A3, then I have to think about what I want to do. Maybe Rook E8, Bishop E3, Bishop B7 then? They castle, and then after castling, their rook would be defending the other rook on A1. I could take on D5, but there might be some stuff happening down the D file. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe Queen E2, Bishop D6, A3 should be played by white. I would have a hard time believing that's bad for me or anything, but I don't know. It seems better than castling. Well, our time is nearly equalized now, so this is a positive. Getting a lot of chances to think about Queen E2. I'm not concerned about any other move. So Queen E2, Bishop D6, A3. How to crack that line? Rook E8, Bishop E3. Queen E4. Okay. So once again, a move I didn't anticipate. Bishop D6 would threaten Rook E8 and pretty much force castling. Are they going to try to go after this pawn? Is that their idea? D6 might be good here, intending Bishop F5. Ooh, that does look really good. So maybe not put the bishop on D6 anymore, but instead focus on getting this piece out. So D6 castles Bishop F5. Maybe Queen F4? Hard to say. Bishop H6 is also possible in this exact position here. That's a little fancy, you know. Bishop D6 was my original intention. Bishop D6, castle, Rook E8 though, Queen H4. It's kind of messy. I'm going to go pawn D6. And they do castle, as planned. Okay, let's bring the bishop out with tempo. I think queen, I'm surprised. I thought they were going to go Queen F4 instead. Maybe just Bishop E7 now. I don't think I need the bishop on the long diagonal for any reason. So let's just do this. I have Knight C2 in store. G5 maybe will be useful somewhere. I think they have to play A3 now. A3, Knight C2, Rook A2. Might be the only way forward for them. A3, I can go to D3 with my knight as well. On A3, I'm actually thinking of something kind of radical. But I don't know if I want to allow A takes B4, Queen takes A1, B takes C5, idea D takes C5, D6. That could be a threat. Yeah, probably don't want to allow that. So a3, knight d3. Bishop takes d3, bishop takes d3. It is nice to get rid of their light square bishop, so I'm kind of leaning that direction. Because then b3 is weak. So I like the look of that. Yeah, let's jump in here. Is g4 an option? g4, I have bishop e4. I think this is okay. Let's pre-move that. I have a feeling this is a very fast player when push comes to shove, so get ready for some craziness in the last few minutes. Yeah, rook e1. Maybe threatening stuff on e7? Not really yet, though. h5 seems desirable, but I feel like they're going to put their queen on f4. They're going to reposition the queen. Still, though, let's go here. If rook takes, king takes, should be okay. I like this because it limits white's queen. Actually, it might be threatening g5. So I think queen f4 is probably what they'll play. And then perhaps queen b5. Guarding d3, attacking b3. And also maybe allowing queen d7 as a defense if necessary. Queen f4, queen b5, queen e3, rook a7 maybe. A4 is slightly annoying. Maybe on queen f4 I won't play queen b5. I like the look of bishop f5, but they have knight h4. So bishop f5, knight h4. Maybe just bishop g4 then. H3. Bishop back to d7 instead. They take on e7, I take with a king. That's not much for them. They need their bishop out. Let's just do this. So if knight h4, I'm bringing my bishop back to d7. And I think I'm holding these points. f6, e7, d6. Okay, they're going to be under 2 minutes soon. Queen c4. Just trying to win this pawn, huh? So if c2... How about g5 here? g5 might even be better. How are they going to win that pawn? Rook e3 maybe? Let's go here. Just trying to limit their pieces. Yeah, rook e3. Plausible. Okay, let's go here. If bishop d2, I'll play queen a6. And if queen c3, I should get out of the way of the file, so like maybe rook e8. Knight e1. They really want that c2 pawn. So queen a6 is going to be met by queen c3. That's annoying. It's not that bad, though. Okay, this is fine. At least make them take the long route to go win that pawn. Maybe I can go here and try to take on d5. Yeah, I can do that. I sort of fear like taking and then bishop b2. So take, queen takes d5, bishop b2. No, but there's no rook coming to d1 yet. So that's okay. Let's just reinforce. And then let's go here. Okay. Be careful. Let's go here. My knight e3 might be good. If queen takes c5, I have queen takes d3. So no worries on that one yet. But rook d1 looks pretty good actually in this position. Knight d5, interesting. Yeah, I gotta be really careful now. Let's go here. Trying to defend d6. A lot of tactics afoot. This queen can't wander too far because I am keeping an eye on d3. So there is that. Rook c6, b5. Okay, let's go here. My position is coming apart a little bit, but the time situation is obviously dire for both of us. Can I take here now? I believe I can. So if they take on b4, I'm thinking queen a5. Ah, no, queen b8. Wow, they didn't take. Okay, let's just go here. Better go back. They're going to play rook c5. And we are going to try to wriggle free. With all we got. Rook c7 is winning. Oh, they lost some time though. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, rook c7 is probably winning. All right, so very lucky on time. That was a complicated game. Okay, let's go back and take a look. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole ton of time to analyze this one. I was kind of playing under the gun a little bit. But yeah, this is an interesting line, like delaying the capture or not capturing at all on b5 at knight f3. So take a6, knight c3, take This is probably some line I should be aware of in the Benko, but I'm not. So I was thinking knight b5 would be the way to go, because if take queen e2 is awkward, because I can't move this knight because of this smothered checkmate. So I was trying to assess like whether this was worth it, but I'm really not sure. Probably not. I was thinking if knight b5, I was just going to go d6, but I wasn't sure about the consequences of a breakthrough like e5, take, and then maybe d6. I seem to recall a line like this, where black has some trouble keeping everything guarded, like f6 and also the c7 square. So I just really wasn't sure about that. So instead, b4, and then e5. I took on c3, they took on f6. Okay, queen a5 seems to be the way to go. Yeah, because this didn't seem as appetizing. They keep their pawns together like this. As played, I just get a real bothersome pawn on c3. So here, take. So that was incorrect. d6 is a better move? Huh. Yeah, this is a super complicated position. d6. So if take, just c2, check. Queen d2, bishop g7. Aha. And attack the rook on a1. I see. Yeah, d6 is not the first move that springs to mind. Definitely not. I mean, I didn't even see b3. I thought for sure this would happen. I was trying to assess the consequences of this line, which I think is fine for black. If rook c1, I was going to go bishop g7, intending this. Check. And the computer agrees that black gets a whole ton of play. Yeah, they have to move their king, because knight d2 runs into this, with pressure on d2. So b3, take. Yeah, so e takes f6 looks like a mistake. Check. It's a shame I have to go shortly, because this game was so complicated it deserves more analysis. Wow, knight g5. Yeah, also a move I didn't see. If take, so they're threatening on f7, so if take, queen e5. Threatening this, and also threatening to take on g5, so if something like this, then this, and black gets mated. That's like a very tough line to see. Take, idea of queen e5. Very, very difficult to see. So queen c2, yeah, knight a6, and now it seems good to me. I mean, at least I thought during the game that this looked excellent. Okay, so I might have misevaluated this position, because I thought queen e2 was basically forced. I didn't really think too highly of queen e4. I guess, I don't know, I just dismissed it out of hand, but having the queen be more active and having the option of coming to h4 or f4 actually makes a lot of sense compared to putting it on e2. So queen e4, d6, castle. Let's just briefly check the resulting play, because I felt like I had a good position, but it was hard to consolidate. I didn't like knight c2 because of rook a2, but g5 is good. Kicking the queen away. Just thought my knight might be kind of awkward on this square. But if I can get it to d4, then I would be happy. I guess deflecting the queen helps in that regard, because there'd be one less defender of d4. And let's see towards the end. h5, bishop came back. Yeah, g5, I might have got overzealous with this. I should push the pawn first, huh? Okay. So g5, rook e3, c2. And probably around here they're equalizing. I think they played pretty well at this point. They just didn't have a lot of time. I took the pawn on d5, but now my king being in the center becomes a big factor. Yeah, and the rest was very much a time scramble. Looks like bishop e6 was weak. And I have to play precisely. I would definitely take white at this point. White has a clear target in my king, and their king is completely safe. Yeah, they're in plus 2.5 territory. Oh, this move actually works? I thought it didn't because of this. Queen d6, king d7. Ah, and they're going to win this rook with an ongoing attack. Ouch. Okay, so queen takes c5 was very strong for home again. Yeah, and mainly thanks to the time, I actually was able to pull off a victory here, but yeah, if this was over the board, I'd be dead. So, yeah, the clock is huge, even in these 15-minute games. This was inaccurate. I should have played rook b8 to try to evacuate my king this way. Okay, let them check on c7. Yeah, rook a6 is better here. Very complicated. I mean, you can analyze this game for an hour. There's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, rook c7 at the end would have been nice, because if rook takes, then it deflects and they win the queen. And if I don't take it, king e8, and then I think even just taking the rook is fine. Winning. So thank you, Home Again, for the game, and I'll be back tomorrow with another standard game. Appreciate you guys watching. Talk to you guys later. Bye.